had so much fun recording this episode with the beautiful Emma Dunwoody. Emma is a human design and master coach, and she's phenomenal. She's in Australia. So we had a little bit of a challenge trying to figure out when to record this episode because one, the time's no, but also she's so busy. But it was a fantastic conversation. I love talking to Emma. She's a big energy. So I think you will really enjoy this. And also, I really wanted to specifically ask Emma about where in our human design chart might we look for specific information that has to do with our health and our health journey. So that was really interesting. I hope you enjoy this episode as much as I enjoy talking to Emma. A few housekeeping kinds of things. My quantum pro healing classes. So the quantum pro healing class is designed for people who are looking for optimal health. So sometimes people are coming because they've got a health challenge. Some people are doing really well, but they just want to learn some more things about like the quantum techniques that could maybe help them have even better health. And the class is so much fun. It's so fantastic. So the dates for 2023 are now up on my website, and I would love to see you there. They are $47. It's a 2-hour class. So I teach for about an hour and a half in those classes, and there's time for questions for a Q&A at the end. So it lasts about 2 hours. But you can also ask questions in between that, not just in the Q&A, because it's designed for you to create your own plan. So it's really practical. And it's these simple quantum techniques that, simple changes can make huge impact. That's what's quantum about it. It's amazing. And I love teaching that. So if you are interested, please come join me for one of those classes. They're virtual. You can join from anywhere, and they're lots of fun. The other really exciting thing is that the ebook, the Pro Healing Diet and Lifestyle ebook, is up on my website, available. So there's a lot of love put into the ebook. It's really based on my experience with my own healing and then working with clients. I would put together information to send to clients. So it really started as just this kind of homegrown kind of putting together a Google Doc kind of information that I could send to clients. So every time a client would say, oh, but I need to know what's better for me to eat. So I would create a list of, things that are pro healing for us to eat. It's really about gut health and being on this journey for kind of an ancestral pro healing approach to food and lifestyle, because it also talks about, really supporting our circadian rhythms and light and all the things that are important. But I just kept kind of adding to it. And a client would say, oh, but I need a shopping list. So I put together a shopping list. And then all of this information went into one place. And I asked my team if they could make it pretty, and they did. And I love it. It looks so good. And it's now available. So if you are in the process of trying to heal your body, you really feel like the gut, healing your gut would be really helpful, because when we heal the gut, we heal the brain. And it all seems to work a whole lot better in our system if we can find a way of eating that's going to be really nutritious, nutrient-dense foods, but really supportive of your system. So whether you're after optimal health or you have specific things that you're trying to heal, all of this could be helpful for you. So I hope that you will check it out. You can find all of that information on my website, nourished-soul.com. And that, I think, is all the housekeeping things. So let's get to the episode with Emma. So excited because not only that you are on this coming onto the show, because I think it's going to be great for listeners, but I personally love your energy. So I have to tell you, my friend Jess Bobico said, oh, I think you'd really like Emma. You should probably start paying attention. And so I love the Human Design Podcast. Your
Awesome.
podcast is awesome. I just got the new offers. So I got the Being a Generator and Being Sacral. And so I'm going through those. It's awesome.
Oh my God. Do you like them? Are you enjoying them?
Yes. I really, really do. I really feel like when I first started listening to you, I feel Well, it was right when your dog Bailey was not
Hmm.
doing well, and my growing
Yeah.
up dog was a black lab named Bailey, and I
Oh,
could just
wow.
I felt all the love that you had for your Bailey, and so I felt a connection with you, like, almost immediately. And
Yeah.
so, and especially I love that you say, be your own guru, that
Yeah.
you're helping people be, because that's I say in my work, I'm helping people to be, I want them to be their own health guru because
Yeah.
so much noise out there. But anyway, so I
Oh my
just
God.
super connected to you from the very beginning. So yeah, just I
Well,
love
any
all of
friend of Jess Babaco's, I feel like just automatically becomes, one of my friends. So, like you're already in the in crowd and I just, hardly even know you.
I know. I was like, it feels, I'm sure it's strange that I know more about you and I've been listening to you and so yeah, so we'll get to know each other a little bit. And
Love it.
is there anything that would be helpful for you as we're getting started to know about the audience or me or what we're doing? You're
No,
good.
not really. I mean, obviously I'm curious. I'm super curious to sort of hear like anyone who has doctor. I'm like, what sort of doctor? Tell me about that
Right,
because you're
right,
obviously got a foot in each camp and that really excites me, like I
right.
feel like there are often people that I just want to have conversations with, those doctors. I don't know why I did this, but doctors that are waking up, I love that. So other than that, I'm curious about that. But other
That's
than that,
true.
I'm just excited to be on the journey with you.
Yeah. Well, I will. Yeah. So that's funny. The doctor thing. So I have a doctorate in counseling. So my background
Oh,
is
okay.
clinical mental health. Yeah.
Yep.
And then I left a career in academia. I was an associate professor to do, I was really interested in the gut brain axis
Yeah.
and got
Oh,
super
I love that.
interested. So I went back to school for nutritional therapy. So I do nutritional therapy for mental health, but also a lot of quantum healing. So that's my
I love
new.
it. I'd love to hear, like, you know what? You're the second person that's mentioned quantum healing today. So I'd love to talk about that. Like, what is quantum healing?
Well, yeah, I could talk to you all day about all these things. Yeah, so we can get into that too. Yeah, because I just think it's all fascinating, and I think that human design seems to be a really good match too. Because what I'm really interested in is, well, obviously, I'm helping people figure out their health journey. So
Yeah.
I just think it's, when people know their human design chart, we can add that to their plan for healing. And I just feel like it's much more powerful. And that is
Love
really
it.
fun. And
Oh, I
so,
love that.
yeah. And the quantum stuff, like there's really nothing better. I'm a generator, I'm 6-2 generator, and I get lit up by the quantum stuff. I can geek out there all day. It's
Oh my
just
God, I love it. I love
fascinating.
it. And what makes it quantum healing?
Quantum, because we're looking at the smallest of particles. So you're looking at electrons, protons, photons inside of our cells. So that it's, we've been thinking of our bodies as these kind of that we're chemical beings, but we're really electrical beings. And so it's all about the electrons and using the earth and the sun to get, to really heal, being outside, barefoot, earthing, using the sunlight to help our body know where it is in time and space.
Oh, I love that. Far out.
Mm,
There's the rabbit hole I want to go down.
yeah, I know. We'll have to do that. We'll have to go down some rabbit holes
Love it.
together. That would be really fun. So for us, so I really want people to understand a little bit more. My audience may not know a lot about human design. So the Nurse Soul podcast is all about mind, body, soul. So it's really about like how do we align with our soul? So I'd love for you to talk a little bit about what is human design? How does that help us align with our soul?
Yep.
And also how you got into human design, I think is kind of interesting.
Sure, sure. Okay. So I suppose let's start at the beginning with like what is human design? And I mean, I can come back to my journey to it once I've been there. And given that you are all about mind, body, spirit, I feel like human design is absolutely that piece that kind of brings everything together. And the thing about human design is that, again, it is about our energy. It's about our energetic blueprint. One of the things that kind of held me back from human design is because, like anything else, like astrology or my background is in behavioral coaching and I'm a profiler. So whether it's a disc profiling or Myers-Briggs, you know, as much as these things are really incredibly powerful, they can also put us in boxes and they can stop us from actually knowing our truth. And we can wear them as like, oh, well, I'm a generator or I'm a projector, so I can't blah, blah, blah. And, you know, these are the things that I kind of wanted to avoid when I came to human design. And human design basically is your energetic blueprint. And it's a mathematical equation taken from 3 months before you were born, on like a specific date and time. And then the second part of the equation is when you're born. So it's your birth time, and where you were born. And what actually happens at that time of birth and the 3 months before you're born is it's taking a reading of these things called neutrinos that are moving through us all the time. They're these itsy bitsy tiny particles, right? Do you talk about neutrinos?
Not a lot, but yeah, I mean, it's perfect in the quantum world, right?
Yeah, exactly, right? So in its most simple form, and again, one of the things about this is science. It's scientifically proven. There's this huge facility in Japan that is studying neutrinos. And basically what they do is they move through, and I'm pretty sure they're subatomic particles.
Yes.
As they move through everything, it's like they pick up a tiny bit of that thing. And the way that we use them in astrology as well as human design is we actually like read those neutrinos as they pass through your body at the time of birth, right? So this is how we get it. And this is how we get our astrology. It's exactly the same way.
All right.
And that's why the planets, because it's where the planets sit at exactly that moment. That's how we get imprinted. Now with human design, it's kind of intersects with astrology, the I Ching, which is the Chinese book of changes. It's like a divination tool, but it's actually, you know, like it's almost, it's not a religion, but it's like the Tao Te Ching. It's about a lot of these other spiritual wisdoms that have almost built their own culture and history around. So the I Ching, then it's also the chakra system. However, in human design, we actually look at, we are 9-centered beings as opposed to the 7 centers that we predominantly focus on. And then the final part of it is the Kabbalah tree of life, and it's how our energy moves from chakra to chakra, or in what we call center to center. And when all of these and mathematical equations come together, what it gives you is your design. And your design is your energetic blueprint. So it's the themes that are going to play out in your life. And there's a lot of different nuances because human design is very complicated. And often when people come to it, it's like, I don't get it. It doesn't make sense. And it feels true. You know, if I have a reading, it feels true. But how do I actually use it in my everyday life? And one of the things that I'm really big on is simplifying it because there's a lot of extra stuff out there. There's a lot of fluff. There's a lot of, so many people are putting their spin on it because they want to make it their own. However, at the end of the day, fundamentally, there are some things that are very important about human design. Number one, it's teaching us to take ourselves out of our head and into our heart, into our physical body, to make our decisions, okay? So we're no longer relying on the mind. This is what makes human design really, really unique. And as a profiler myself, the big shift or the big difference with human design and all these other profiling tools that we use, you know, whether it's Enneagram, whether it's, you know, whatever your favorite tool is. I heard another one just the other day, but I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. The thing is all of these we have to answer questions to, okay? So in the process of answering the questions, and the questions are asked in a way that the facilitator and the people who created the tool, they want us to access our unconscious patterns, our unconscious behavior. But at the end of the day, it's coming through us actually answering a question. So if we have a big gap, which is called cognitive dissonance between who we are and who we think we are, then the accuracy becomes, you know, less and less accurate. And we're actually just answering from the mind. We're not answering from the design. Whereas with human design, we are directly taking this reading. This chart is created scientifically, mathematically, in a way that your mind has no input. Like, it doesn't get to say who you are or what your energy is. It's this mathematical imprint, if you like.
I love that. I just love that.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
when the mind gets involved, as much as it's trying to be helpful, it's just that's not helpful. So that's
Yeah.
really, I didn't even think about human design that way. That makes a
Yeah.
lot of sense.
And,
Right.
and look, a lot of people don't. And this is actually part of the mission that myself and my team, like, we want to take human design mainstream, because I've spent many years using behavioral and personality profiling tools and had great results. But the moment I brought human design into my corporate clients, everything amplified, like everything, because all of a sudden you're not thinking about what you want to do. You're not thinking about who you want to become. You're not thinking about what you want to achieve. You're actually being like, right, I'm actually being guided all the time by my strategy and authority. I always have the wisdom sitting inside of me. And I remember on my journey, which was, my journey of healing and awakening was a long one, let me tell you. And I'm still on it, but we're talking 20 years ago. I was diagnosed with depression and panic disorder. And in that moment, I was told that I was going to have to live with it for the rest of my life. I was going to have to learn to manage it. And that just wasn't an option for me. And gratefully at the time, I look back and I was like, wow, I was actually listening to my design at the time, because I was like, if you could just tell me how I got myself here, then I'm pretty confident I can get myself out. And I remember the specialist saying, oh, you didn't do anything. And I was like, that just... And this is my journey. I do want to just say that this is my journey, my response to my journey, my response to the advice that I was given. I was like, that doesn't feel true to me. So what I then embarked on was this journey to understand the brain, mental health, happiness. Like, I just studied happiness, like, off the charts, human behavior, psychology, became a profiler, a master coach. So much, like, sent me down this road. And then human design was like the cherry on top. And one of the big things about that I want to come back to is with human design, it's this journey from the head to the body. Because as soon as we're operating from the mind, we're operating from the ego. And the unconscious mind. The unconscious mind really dictates 95% of our behavior. And that behavior was set predominantly under the age of 7, when we were in our imprinting stage. Our brain was wide open in theta, and everything that people said, all of our big people, our superheroes, whether we thought they were superheroes or not, our parents, the people around us, you name it, everything that we were experiencing, it's going in and it's becoming our identity. And our identity is formed on being taken care of, belonging to the family, the tribe, and being loved. Okay. And then what happens is that actually creates who we are for the rest of our life. Now, most of the things that are created are beliefs. Beliefs are nothing more than convenient assumptions, right? Convenient assumptions running your life, in a defense, like I always talk about, like, it's just a defense mechanism. So most people are playing a defense game all the time. Right. They're playing like they want to stay safe. They want to get love. They want to be taken care of. They want to feel safe and secure. Instead of playing an offensive game where you actually can sit still and be like, okay, where am I being guided? Who am I becoming? What's true for me? And human design really gives us the opportunity to answer these big questions. It gives us a direct connection in, like, how specifically we're designed to make better decisions for ourselves. And it gives us the themes of how things are going to play out, everything from purpose, what drives us to make money, how we're going to make money, how we're going to succeed, whether we work well with others or not with others, what are our prominent themes that people want from us, how can we serve the other, how can we heal ourselves. Like, everything sits within our design. Ultimately, like, the thing I hear all the time when I'm working with clients is, wow, I knew that. Oh my God, that's true. I'm allowed to be that. It's very, very rare that I hear from clients, oh, that's a surprise, unless it's the woman who's brought her husband along and he's like, yeah, I don't know, arms crossed in the background, but guaranteed by the end of the session, the arms are uncrossed and he is keen to find out more. the point being that everything is inside of us. And one of the big things in my journey, there was this saying, and I always attribute it to Wayne Dyer, but I think it's much older than Wayne Dyer, but I'm going to give it to him and, you know, whoever else you were, I get it.
Yeah.
Is that saying of like, everything we need is inside of us. All the answers lie within us. And I used to be like, well, that feels true, but how do I get at them? Like, how do I access them?
Exactly.
And basically human design is the thing that helps you access those things and access the greatness, let go of the things that are holding you back, and really gives you full permission to be yourself. And what human design also leads us to is that when we are fully authentically ourselves, all the things we were afraid of, they just fall away. They fall away because we don't have to please other people. We don't have to change to, you know, be the person that to prove that we're enough. We don't have to be a certain way or a certain person. We don't have to give away our boundaries. We can actually just stand in our truth, in our power. And then what's crazy, and like, this is my life, like the dominoes then just fall around you, you know, creating your reality, creating your heaven on earth, as I call it. It just becomes simple because all you got to do is listen to your internal guidance system and the universe, and boom, off you go.
Right. All you got to do. Okay, Emma. Because
simple.
It is simple, but not so easy for those if the conditioning is deep, right? And so that's one of the things I love about you and the podcast and the people you bring on, and everything I've seen so far that you've offered. Well, one, I love that you do keep it simple. And two, I love that you really embody, you really are authentically living your truth. And it just makes it, I don't know, more inspiring, more possible for the rest of us to say, okay, I can do this too, because it's really, your energy is really, well, it's fantastic. So being in that, it gives other people permission to do the same.
Yeah, wow, thank you. I really appreciate that. And, you know, I do keep things simple for a reason, because what is the point in us having these wisdoms and not being able to actually get results from them? I mean, it's freaking pointless in my view. Like, that's great that you can read, you know, I can't even think of something now, any of these, the Bible, you can read, A Course in Miracles, you can, any of these wisdoms, right? The I Ching, the Tao Te Ching, you name it. But if you can't implement that into your life, what's the freaking point? There's no point, you know. It's just like, okay, well, I'm just on this seeking journey. And I was actually, what was I listening to recently? I'm trying to think. I was listening to someone, which I'd love to credit, but I can't think who it was. I was listening to someone's podcast, or I was reading something, and they said there's two ways to enlightenment. One, it was the Gene Keys. It was Richard Rudd.
Okay.
There's two ways to enlightenment. The first way is that you can go inward through meditation. And then the second way is through relationship, like actually being in life, being a part of life and growing through that process, whether it's relationship with self, relationship with others, relationship with addiction, relationship with love. And for me, I was like, that so speaks to my heart, because at the end of the day, I mean, I am an avid meditator ever since being diagnosed with depression. Like, I've done it for 20 years. I wouldn't say I'm good at it, but I turn up every day for myself.
Nice.
But the whole idea that, you know, we get to enlightenment through relationship, like, that feels so much better. So that I think is so, so, so important. So we have to make it simple, because those people that can make things simple, they get it. They actually know the important stuff to leave out, as opposed to a lot of people that overcomplicate things. And often when people are overcomplicating things, what that's actually telling you is they don't get it. So you don't know if you're missing out on a bit. Maybe they're giving you the bits that they think is important. So simplicity is also a sign that the person that you're teaching or learning from, it's a big piece for me. Like, if the person that I'm working with or learning from cannot simplify in a way that I can get to a point and they can simply explain to me exactly what I want, then I'm like, I'm not sure you really know what you're talking about, or I'm not sure you've experienced it. And then this is the piece for me. I want to respond to the other piece. Like,
Mhm.
I am so authentically myself.
Mhm.
It's crazy. And it has been a journey for me. It's been such a journey. Like as a kid, I was so introverted. I literally just lived in my own head. I had a best friend in primary school. She moved from Melbourne, where I grew up, to Sydney. And I was diagnosed with dyslexia at the same time. And in that moment, I actually remember making the decision, well, no one's going to like me now because I'm stupid. And Emma was my best friend at the time, and she's left. So that was it. I can almost hear, every time I tell this story, hear the walls coming down, and the ironclad locks being shut. So I kept myself contained for a long, long time. And for those listeners out there, like, I'm a manifesting generator. I am with a defined will center. I am not designed to be small in any way at all.
Right.
But I shut everything down, even my voice. And my voice is a part of my purpose and why I'm on this planet. And that whole journey, the last 2 decades of really being okay with being myself, has been profound. And I would have to say that it's the last number of years working with human design, adding human design to everything else, that has given me the full permission slip. And one of the things recently, my incredible operations manager, she basically runs the entire back end of my business. She's awesome. Taylor came out from the States, and she was like, when she first started working for me, she was like, wow, you really are the same, in the training room, on the podcast, as you are in person. I'm like, yeah, yes, I am. I am no longer trying to be anyone that I am not. I'm just me. And then she's come out. She's just stayed with us for 3 weeks. Sadly, she had to go home, but maybe I'll try and get her out here forever in the future. But the point to my story is that she's like, wow, you're really you all the time. Like, even when you're tired at the end of the week and whatever, like, you're just the same human. And for those that do know human design, like, I'm an emotional being as well. So there is this wave that I ride. This, for me, has been the greatest gift in my life, to be me wherever I go. And if I can even, well, look, I've worked with thousands of people now, and I reckon hundreds of people firsthand that are already doing this. But the more people that I can empower to live their authentic life, like, the better. That's the mission for me. I want everyone to live their most authentic life.
Me too. I want to live that. I want everybody else to live that, because if we do, we're going to elevate the planet.
100%.
Right? That's
100%.
what we're here.
There's nowhere else we can go. There's nowhere else we can go. Because if
Yeah.
we love, trust, and accept ourselves, then we can only create an external reality of love, trust, and acceptance. Like, I totally agree.
I'm just so thankful that you found your way, because it makes, just
Me too.
I could hear the walls and the lock as a child. And I'm thinking, oh, that feels so sad and familiar to me. And the fact that you made your way out is just, I'm just so grateful. And that's what I want for everyone. People who have built walls and locked up and have had no idea who they really are, or are trying to be something, because that's the thing. We have all of these messages that we're supposed to be a certain way. And when you get the permission slip, I had my design chart read, over a year ago was the first time. And I thought it was really cool, but I had no idea how to live it. No idea. And so I think, you have this incredible information, and you could, what I decided to do was just go with strategy and authority, because all the other stuff is really cool in the chart, but literally just stick with my strategy and authority and just work with that. And that's, kind of where I am, is just working with
the best thing you can do. It's the best thing that you can do. So one of the things for me that I bang on all the time about is exactly that. Human design is really, really complicated, but our design isn't. It's simple. It's already happening. You're already doing it. You're already making decisions this way. It's just that you're probably not doing the best version of it, or you're probably expressing it through the shadow. That's okay. That's all fine, because the more you're like, when you're expressing through the shadow, it means that you're making decisions from the mind. the more you do strategy and authority, then you're going to be more in alignment because you're listening to your own internal guidance system. You're listening to where the universe is guiding you to, which is your strategy, right?
Right.
So at the end of the day, if you can just keep it simple. And then the thing that I often recommend, I mean, obviously you can come and study with people like me and help you dive deeper. But what I actually recommend is more like just get into strategy or authority, listen to things, pay attention to what resonates, whatever doesn't resonate, just put it back down. And you might get a reading and be really, really cautious. Yep, that's the word I want to use when you get readings because, and this just happened with a client just yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
She booked an unpack. She's already a part of my HDX community. She booked an unpack, and an unpack with me is an investment. It's not just, $150 or $250. It's a significant investment. So of course she danced around investing in that, even though her strategy and authority had said, do it, do it, do it. And she went and got a reading with someone else, which was, I'm not criticizing the reading.
Sure.
It was good. I'm sure she got stuff out of it. However, she opens our session with, so I really want to focus on my sun and earth. And I was like, okay, cool. That sounds great. Wow. And I actually said to her at the time, I'm like, wow, this is cool. This is really specific. And she tells me this story that she's had a reading and the person that was reading her chart said, basically, you're here to piss people off. And when I heard that, it you can just imagine steam came out of my ears like a cartoon character.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, your human design is beauty. It's perfection. It's exactly the way it needs to be. And no one is put on planet Earth to unresourcefully piss people off. That is not, no, hardcore, no. Yeah. Yes, some people will use the lower expressions of their energy and maybe still get results. But at the end of the day, that person, they're not feeling good on the inside, right? So ultimately, when you go and get a session with a reader, please go to one that is actually not going to tell you who you are or say unresourceful things like that. So follow them on Instagram, get an idea of how they do it. Because at the end of the day, I got the gift of telling this incredible human being, no, babe, you have 38 and 39 in your sun and earth, the gate of the fighter and the gate of provocation. So the person that had told them is like, oh, well, fighting and provoking. Well, you're here to piss people off. Oh, God, no. These are warrior gates. These are warrior gates. And when these gates are in their higher expression, they literally watch the hell out because this person is going to fight. She's going to fight for what matters. And she worked with animals. She had this really big drive to use animal therapy and help people, heal trauma. And I'm like, babe, that's what you're fighting for. You're not here to piss people off. You're here to fight. And the 39, there's and it's all about innovation. It's about how can you innovate? What bear do you need to poke? Because it's not working. That needs poking to see what happens when whatever dominoes. So that's one of the things as well. Human design doesn't need to be complicated and it's not a dogma. So don't ever let people tell you because this is in your chart, this is who you are. You always want to be asking yourself, what is true for me? Does that resonate with me? How does that feel in my body? And run your own experiment. Because if you're in alignment, you're going to get results. You're going to feel great in your life. Even when one of the things that was really profound for me, because I actually have a lot in my chart that's challenging, that I was all of a sudden oh, wow. I don't actually have to struggle with this. I can see it in a very different way. There's a much higher meaning, the resiliency that I'm building, the ability to help others. This is the beauty of human design, is that it's not tying you into anything. It's actually showing you your possibilities.
Which is amazing. Yeah. And I think it's important to just say that it's an experiment.
100%.
It's an experiment. It's not dogmatic at all. I'm wondering if people are listening going, well, wait, what am I? So I want to make sure they know they can come to your website and they can find out, they can at least get a basic idea and then they can start doing the digging.
Oh, yeah. So one of the things to do as well is I always say, and obviously I'm biased because it's my website, but the easiest thing to do is go to my website, emmadunwoody.com, get your free chart, and then go to the podcast. It literally has an episode that says start here. And then you can go through each part of your chart, your type, your strategy, your authority, your centers, like you name it, you can go through it.
Yeah.
And, you know, like we actually have also simplified now products to help people. Like you can literally just get the bits that you need to support your design. And again, like once you get a grasp of strategy and authority, so type, strategy, and authority, then you can start to run your experiment. And what do I mean by experiment?
Yeah.
Just try it out, like literally try it out and ask, am I getting results? It might look like something like this. For me, I'm a manifesting generator. I have the 3420. That's super fast energy. However, my authority is emotional, which is slow. I have to sleep on it. I have to give things time.
Right.
So a lot of my life, I've been running at things. And I always joke, like I literally just run like a bull at a gate at things. I'm just a very enthusiastic person. I'm a line 3. I always want to have experiences. I know that sometimes I'm going to win. Sometimes I'm just going to learn. And that's all good. That's fine. But once you get your strategy and authority, then all of a sudden things shift. And for me, I'm like, okay, cool. I need to inform people. I need to tell people I'm going to be doing this, or I'm going there, or I'm feeling like this. And the people close to me need to inform me. Okay. So I just practice that. Then I'm going to respond because I'm an MG. So what does that mean? It means that, for example, my podcast is a great story that I tell all the time. I had an insight drop in. Again, that's in my chart. Insights are really important to the way I do my work in the world. Mm-hmm. And an insight dropped in, but as a generator type, so a manifesting generator and a generator, both generator types, I can't respond from something internal. So I've got this great insight. And then the next day, a mentor literally says to me, someone needs to do a podcast on human design. I think you should do it. And I was like, are you kidding me? So I just follow the breadcrumbs, right? And as an emotional authority, then I sleep on it. I just take my time to answer. I reteach people how to treat me. Like, I'll come back to you on that. I'll give you an answer in a moment. I teach my kids, like, please just give me a moment and I'll come back to you. To the point that my kids now, they will tell me what they want to do. They will be very clear at the beginning of the week so that by the weekend, they're going to get an answer, you know? Because I would just say no all the time because I didn't have emotional clarity. I didn't have clarity about what I wanted. So you just run the experiment, learn your strategy, learn your authority, run the experiment. Is life getting easier? And for me, in my journey, I mean, I've built a massive business, you know, a really successful team, relationship, family, life. Like we've done the, you know, nomadic thing. We spent a year traveling around Australia. Like, I just feel like we live heaven on earth. And ultimately, it's because I just followed my strategy and authority. Life got easier. I lived in flow. I stopped listening to my mind or letting my mind override everything. I just trusted the body. I trusted my strategy. I trusted my authority. I did the things. I ran the experiment. Am I getting the results? And yeah, of course I'm getting the results. So I'm like, I'm going to keep doing this. I'm just going to keep doing it. And then you can start to go deeper into your chart.
Yeah. And I think that's where it gets really kind of interesting, and it's important to have somebody. I think that's where you can have a companion that knows that territory that can really help you. Somebody like you that can
love
do
that.
that.
And I think like also because I think a lot of people, especially my audience, because a lot of my audience isn't like they're into spiritual growth.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of them are like, oh, I can't take the woo. I can't take the fluff. I can't take the, you know, like, and it's the thing that always drew me to Jess Babaco. She's so woo and she's, you know, practical and pragmatic and makes sense of things. So I think a lot of it as well is like really actually being able to get tangible results from this and having a like often just finding someone that you can talk about this stuff to is really, really powerful because a lot of human design people that in our community that come to human design, they're kind of like, I don't want to seem weird. I need someone to talk to about this because,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
so,
I don't mind.
so yeah.
I don't mind seeming weird. I think it really does help you. I mean, you really are aligning what I would call the soul. I don't know what, you know, other people might call that. And for me, that is what I've been trying to do my entire life, is to live in a place of ease where I feel like I'm in alignment with who I really am, but like big S self. not
Yeah.
small s ego self. And that's,
Yeah.
really huge. I gotta say, I mean, the experiment, sometimes it's kicking my ass at
Yeah.
times because, which is totally great, but I still like fall into these patterns, but it's getting really clear, which is nice. And just,
Mm.
I want to talk a little bit about where we might look in our chart or just in strategy and authority, specifically around health,
Yep.
because I had this interesting experience. I don't want to take up too much time with it, but I'll tell you, like, it was just so clear and it just happened on Friday night. So I feel amazing most days of my life. I am super super grateful that I'm at a place where I physically feel really really good. And that's
Yeah.
amazing for me. It's been a really long journey, but I still get migraine headaches. And that really pisses me off because they come out of nowhere and I'm like, I am doing all the things. What is this? And so I got one Friday night and I could feel it coming on. And in the middle of the night, I was in so much pain and I kind of was awake-ish. And I said, why? Why are these still coming? And I got a very clear image of something that had happened that evening. And it was a conversation, and someone asked me a question and I answered it. And I realized in that moment, in the middle of the night, not at the time it was happening, that I had a gut sacral response of do not answer. And I want
Mm.
to tell people it wasn't what I said. What I said was fine, but I was mad the rest of the night because of her reaction. I just didn't think it's not about her. It's not about what I said. It's about the fact that I am a sacral being and I hit the override button, used
Mm.
my head, my conditioning. Like somebody asks you a question, you're supposed to answer it, right? And I
Yeah.
was like, oh, and I was like, am I seriously getting migraine headaches because I am not following my authority? That is
Ooh.
like, yeah. And I was like,
Oh,
okay,
I love that.
okay, I got you. Like
Yeah.
because I've been blaming, diet and hormones and all the things we think of. I was not thinking that it's about, not living my design.
Well, it's really interesting. What I know about, and it's certainly not as much as you know, but what I know about migraine. So one of the big things for me is that every single ailment, and I'm sure you talk about this all the time, every single ailment that we experience in the body starts in the mind. So we're kind of like, okay, well, what's the seed of a migraine? And the seed of a migraine is control. Um, and it's feeling like, and a lot of the time we hear control over the body. Okay, so often people who get migraines, you'll often hear women say that they get migraines around their period, and then if you ask them about their period, they're like, oh, it's a pain in my ass and I feel shit and da 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 da. um and I can't work properly, and at the end of the day, it's because they're like, their body's like, hello, this is a gift. It's amazing. This is beautiful. Stop trying to control me to push it away. Um,
Right.
so that would always be the first place.
Right.
Then, if I had your chart in front of me, there would be certain places that I would go and have a look, because if you had certain gates that are aligned, because there's a number of them that are kind of aligned to control, that maybe that's playing out as well, and ultimately the other piece would be is absolutely strategy and authority, because at the end of the day, the mind, when the mind is in its shadow state, it wants to control things externally. I mean, one of the 6 core needs of being human is certainty. And what happens is, if we can't get certainty resourcefully, which means internal certainty, which in human design is like listening to my strategy and authority, and the buck stops there. If my authority says it's a no, it's a no. And being in integrity with that, then the mind is going to jump in and it's going to try and control the external reality.
Right.
So I would guess that through, and obviously, I don't know, I wasn't there, but from what you've shared, I would guess that that's what it's about. It's that part of you that's going, well, you're just trying to control your mind is trying to control the situation. Or it sounds like part of you was obliged to answer the question instead of going, I got nothing, or no, I've got
Not
no energy for this.
right. Not here, not now.
Yeah. Yeah.
which I could have easily said, yeah, I think it's control. When you said that, I was like, oh yeah, I'm sure it's about control, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, I just think I also just the way people, not so much what we eat, but in the when we eat and how we eat. And it depends on our
Mm.
design, because I have clients that I think they really it needs to be a peaceful environment. It doesn't,
Yeah.
they're
That's
already
me.
eating really well. They're already doing all these things, and they're still having health issues. It's
Yeah.
chaotic where they're trying to eat. And so,
Yeah.
that's really important. Like a
There's a
project.
great there's a great place in the chart
Mhm.
to experiment with health and well-being.
Okay.
Okay. And it's within the arrows. So
Oh,
the
yeah.
the top left arrow and then the bottom left arrow.
Yeah.
It's called the PHS, the primary health system and environment. And a lot of people, again, they take this as dogma, and it's not dogma. This is actually a part of the chart that wasn't part of the initial download. Mathematically, it's correct, and it's um, powerful.
Uh-huh.
However, it's the part of the chart that often people are kind of like, oh, it's a bit clunky. I don't understand it. It doesn't resonate.
Uh-huh.
I don't know what that means. And it's just because, the guy who brought all of human design in, Ra Uru Hu, he created this with his mind. So it's just a part of it that it's a little bit not as easy, or not as resonant. So what I always say is, like, this is where you really need to experiment. Like, if someone tells you that your PHS is like, so mine is touch, calm, and outer vision. Okay. So if someone said to me, well, you can only be in a calm environment, and you have to look at your food, or they gave me these really strict rules, then I'd be like, I'm going to experiment to see what's true for me. But there's this theme. So absolutely, the beauty of, and some of them are really out there. So one of them is all about daylight, whether you're someone who's meant to eat with the sun up or sun down. And one of my friends, good friends, she did my first ever mastermind. And when we went through this part of the chart, she discovered that she was someone who is meant to eat and, had the most energy when the sun was down. And she was like, oh my God, thank goodness.
Oh,
She had tried for years to go to bed early, to eat during the day, to do all of these things. And for her, it was so out of alignment but she was trying to force herself to be that way because that's what all the research says, right? So she then just stopped trying to force herself to do everything while the sun was up, and she followed her own internal rhythms. And she, of course, she still eats during the day, but I mean, she fasts a lot. So she will then have her main meal after the sun's gone down. So that really works for her. She works a lot at night because that works for her. She feels really good. And then, like, it's something for me, even with the PHS, for me personally, I found like a lot of aha moments around the way I manifest, because I'm a person who has to have a calm atmosphere around me when I eat. And it's not just eating, it's about taking in the world. So it's whether it's food, it's getting the most nutrition. If it's learning, it's getting the most knowledge or experience. But if you're having an experience, like if you're with someone, it's like getting the most out of the moment with someone. So understanding those themes, they can really give you so much insight. Like, I've done a lot of fasting, and I'm not meant to do fasting according to my human design. So it's been really powerful for me to learn how to tweak my fasting. And I know a lot of people don't like the term intuitive fasting, but I do intuitively fast because I have a very, very hungry brain. And I never knew that before I ran that experiment. I learned from human design. Like, I work my whole week. I work Monday to Wednesday, and I can eat like there's no tomorrow. The rest of the week, I don't use my brain that much, and I do a lot of physical activity, but I'm not that hungry. So a lot of the mainstream research is going to tell me, well, that's not right. You need to eat when you're exercising, and when you're sitting still, you don't eat. But just being given the opportunity to run the experiment for me, I now know what's true for me. So there's a lot of that. It also, within the chart and that bottom left-hand arrow environment, it also helps you to really understand the physical environment that you're going to be really comfortable in. And when I actually discovered this, one of my biggest understandings of my mental health was the gift that I got from it, because for me personally, I have to be in an environment where I live somewhere that's finger on the pulse. Like I know what's going on in the world. I'm living in a place that has it's got an understanding of trends, what's working, what's not working, what's going on in the rest of the world. I need to have my finger on the pulse. And when I was living where we were living when I was doing depression and panic disorder, I felt like I was so disconnected from life. So disconnected.
Right.
So this has always been something that's very important to us when you decide where to live, because we've moved out of Sydney up here to Byron Bay. And the reason why this is like heaven on earth for us is because it's very finger on the pulse, especially around health, well-being, spirituality, entrepreneurship, like all the things that are really important to us, like family values. It's subtropical, so it's warm, it's sunny, but it's a very forward thinking environment, but doesn't have to be a city. So there's places in your chart that can really, really help you to physically, mentally, and emotionally feel really better, or a lot better fast. And know when you're working with people like yourself, that you can bring that to these specialists, these experts, and say, can we experiment with this? What would that look like if we experimented with light or sound or whatever it might be?
Yeah, because I'm sitting here thinking, I'm all about doing what feels good for the person. And if I make a recommendation or something, but they're hiring me to help that. And I'm just thinking about, I'm getting this certification in quantum biology, and it's about the circadian rhythms. And so the science will tell us, eat in the window of daylight for gut health and all those things. And I'm like, it just might not be true for people. This is why I'm so fascinated by human design, because I think it could almost be dangerous for people. Like, you have, just because some science tells you, and I like science.
I love science.
Right?
I love science.
I'm like, I'm not waiting on science. If there's something that really works for me and feels good, I'm not waiting on science to catch up. And also, just because there are, tons of studies that say something is good, doesn't mean it's necessarily going to work for you. This is why I'm always telling people, you've got to become your own health guru.
100%.
Right.
And especially in the health world, because a lot of health research is done on men. Why is it done on men? Because the majority of health research is done on men because they're reliable. That's what they call it. They're reliable. They have a 24-hour cycle. And they don't choose women because of their 28-day cycle. And this is the thing that, like, it infuriates me, because we talk so much about the research. Like, if you're doing what is it? Not paleo,
Keto.
What's keto? If you're doing a keto diet and your practitioner talks about the research, please know that it's done on men. It's done on men. It's not done on women, and I've just noticed some of the big biohackers are starting to talk about women and fasting, and, women fasting for 18 hours every day is, in some cases having an impact on fertility. It's having, like, all sorts of different things, right? So this is the thing. And it doesn't have to be human design. The biggest thing for me, what I want everyone to do is like you say, become your own guru, run your experiment. Because I'm a very all in boots and all kind of person. It's on line 3 in me, right?
Right.
So I went all in with keto, and I ended up with shingles, for goodness sake. Like, I'd put my body under so much stress that I ended up with shingles. Yeah. And it wasn't just the keto. It's because I'm a boots and all kind of person. So I was doing all the exercise, and I was doing all of this and doing all of that and blah, 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 blah. However, this is the piece that human design is here to teach us, is that we're all completely unique. And especially because I am the same, I love research. I love science. And I used to just be like, oh, well, look, they've done a study on it. And then especially through COVID, for me, I was like, really started to understand how research was created. Research in most cases is created by someone who has a big pocket, who wants a specific outcome. So this is the piece for me, like research is great, but you want to make sure you're seeing research from every single, corner, if you like, because you want to make sure that the research that the people that are doing the research are actually people who are doing it because they believe in the research. Like Bruce Lipton is someone that I follow a lot because he's really, really solid in the research that he puts out and the research he follows. And there's a lot of them. But I think that that's the piece that at the end of the day, we then have to take full responsibility for ourselves, for our bodies, for our, our life, and be like, am I getting the results here? And I know for me, we love biohacking, my husband and I. And we take a lot of supplements, we do a lot of things, but at the end of the day, if something doesn't feel right, then I just don't do it, and we are taking it to that next level where we're going to do bloods and all that sort of thing to back it up. So we really can say, okay, wow, our body did give us this feedback. But at the end of the day, anywhere we give our power away, that's it. We're not actually in our own wisdom. So we have to learn to maintain our power and keep taking responsibility.
Yeah. You sound like I repeat that over and over again. I mean, you have to. And what I feel like is you've got to own your own shit, is what I say, taking responsibility. 100%. And you really can't own your own shit if you can't change anything if you don't own it. And so
100%.
I'm like, that's all it really means to me, is that's what we're doing. And then
exactly. And exactly. Everybody's, like, I think that's also one of the things with, we were talking about authenticity. Like, I think that's also one of the things about my authenticity is like, what you see is what you get. If something doesn't work, I'm going to tell you, I even to the point that I'm a person who, I've had some health stuff that I've shared, like going through early menopause. Like, I'm 47. So there's also things like, I don't like wearing makeup. So there's that whole like, oh my goodness, I'm getting older. How do I look? And I share all of those conversations, and I share that, wow, sometimes it feels uncomfortable, or I share that, these are my choices and this is my experience, and just to hopefully empower other people to do the same. Like, we are perfect as we are. And we have an ego. So our ego is going to pipe in and give us its opinion, sometimes a lot and sometimes a little. And it's just important that we take responsibility for like, oh, that's coming from fear. That's coming from scarcity. That's coming from these places. It's not coming from love. It's not coming from my heart. It's not coming from my soul, my spirit. So yeah, and that's where the power lies, when we take full responsibility. And responsibility always comes down to results. Like, do you have the results you want? Then you're not taking responsibility for something if you don't. If you do have the results you want, then high five you, because you are taking responsibility for being the person you want to be.
Oof, yeah, true. Yeah, so I just absolutely could keep you all day your time. It's night here, but I think you're on Wednesday. Is it Wednesday?
I am, yes.
Yeah, on Tuesday night, you're on Wednesday. I would love to just walk the beach for hours with you and talk about all the things. So I loved having you on the show. Just really grateful that you took the time. Is there anything else that really nourishes your soul? That you're somebody who's constantly, like, you're a big energy. You're doing a lot in the world. You help a lot of people. So, really, I know it's important to you to nourish your own self. So yes. How do you do that?
Oh, that's a great question. So as a line 3 MG, lots of ways. One of the big things for me is, like, I am a really big energy, and I do, have that kind of effect and impact on people. And at the same time, I'm really introverted. So one of the things for me is, like, I am very much like, when I'm in my own time and space, and I also have a gate called gate 40 in my earth, which is the gate of aloneness. So I do live this very paradoxical life. I often talk about this. My chart is very paradoxical, fast, slow, introverted, extroverted, all of these sort of things. So a lot of the things that I do is like getting out in nature, being alone, being just with my family. We love to take our caravan out and, park it next to a creek and be in the middle of nowhere and hang out. And, you know, I love to surf. I love to hike, like just out in nature. That's the thing. I also think that because there's this part of me that does, like, I've had this seed inside of me since I was tiny, you know, that I want to have a big impact. And that can feel really serious, and it can feel really heavy, and it can feel really like intense sometimes. So I'm also, a lot of my natural energy is just to be playful. You know, again, I ride a skateboard, I surf, I try to be, keep up with my kids that are 15 and 11 right now, like, and yeah, play is really the way that I balance out so much of the big energy that sometimes can feel like, that's a lot of responsibility. Yeah, just play, nature, being alone.
I love it. Those are all, yeah. And you've got two boys, right?
2 boys, yep,
Yeah, me
15
too.
and 11, big
Yeah.
kids.
Mine are 17 and 20. So
Wow. We're just at the beginning of that teen cycle, and thank goodness the one that's going first is going first. That's all I have to say. Like, I need a bit of practice
yeah, I
before
was
number
gonna say,
2
gonna
goes through the
train
teen
you for the
years.
second one.
Yeah,
Yeah, I got
yeah,
you. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much for
You
being here, for your
are
time.
so welcome. So welcome. I've loved chatting with you.